Welcome to the Metro Munk Podcast, your sanctuary for self-discovery, personal growth, and emotional healing. I'm your host, Parag Lokande, a shadow coach, spiritual mentor, seeker, poet, and a student of life. This podcast is a heartfelt journey into understanding and embracing your true self. It is designed to help you navigate the complexities of the human experience with wisdom and compassion. Join me on a journey to self-discovery and personal growth as we explore the power of self-healing. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 38 of the Metro Munk Podcast. I was just thinking about how we can transition from our last topic, duality, into today's discussion. As you know, in the previous episode, we've explored how duality represents, two seemingly opposite things that are in fact one and the same. You see, stepping into your higher expression is to become more undivided or less conflicted. An awakened person is someone who is whole, and that can't happen as long as they remain in duality. If you missed that episode, I highly recommend giving it a listen before diving into this one, as today's discussion will make a lot more sense with that context. So then today's topic is kind of an offshoot of the concept of duality. You might remember we talked about how experiencing the desired outcome or stepping into the higher expression comes down to embracing the contrast, feeling or welcoming the opposite. And this again is, I suppose, one of those mind-bending concepts. I guess it's another one of universe's gotcha moments. You see, when we repress parts of us, we end up living an inverted version of the life we are meant to live. When we repress parts of ourselves, whether it's our emotions or desires, creativity, or even certain aspects of our personality, we unknowingly distort our true path. So instead of living in alignment with who we truly are, we end up living an inverted version of the life we are meant to live. Repression only creates an inner conflict where we push away parts of ourselves that feel uncomfortable, unacceptable, and even painful. But what we resist doesn't just disappear. It manifests in our lives as an inverted or opposite reality. Let's try and understand this with help of some examples. Imagine a young boy who loves painting. He finds joy, peace, and a deep sense of self-expression in creating art. But then growing up, he constantly hears messages from his family that being an artist isn't practical, or it won't provide stability or success. So over time then, he starts to internalize this belief and becomes more and more afraid. Fear of his safety or even security sort of starts to take grip of him, and he goes on to instead become a lawyer. So at first then, it seems like he's making the right choice. His career provides financial security, he earns approval, of his colleagues or everyone around him. But then over time, deep inside, he feels unfulfilled. He struggles with chronic stress, burnout, even a sense of emptiness. Though he can't quit, he can't sort of quite pinpoint what's going on in him. Okay, so then now he begins to desire fulfillment. You see, that memory in his childhood of finding joy, peace, and that deep sense of self-expression in maybe creating his art that he felt is now calling him. So he's sort of looking for more. He knows deep down that another job at another law firm or more money or a new project is not going to bring him that fulfillment. But then the idea of quitting brings back that fear of his safety or that insecurity that he's feeling. And then, therefore, he gets crippled. So now he's in a gridlock. It's as though he's far away from home. And then home reminds him of that feeling of fulfillment that he felt as a child. So he's lost his way back. He cannot feel creative anymore. He's probably forgotten how to paint. And every time he tries, that animal brain of his kicks in, and then the fear of wasting time or not being productive or responsible kicks in. So he's desperately trying to change his life. But he does not see a way forward. So then, unfortunately, he continues to choose entrapment instead of freedom. You see, in this example, he is trapped in an inverted version of what his true self feels like. Even though that old memory of it calls him, his fear is keeping him in a gridlock. Nothing can be done. Nothing he can do to this inverted reality. Nothing he can fix in his inverted reality, or no amount of dealing with this inverted reality is going to bring him that fulfillment he seeks. So why, you ask? Because the fulfillment he seeks is already who he is deep down. What he needs to do to feel fulfilled, in this case, painting or artwork, is already a gift he possesses as part of his higher self. This is a quality of his true self. This is his higher expression. He doesn't need to find it or create it or make anything else happen in his inverted reality to feel that fulfillment. In fact, nothing he will do can get him there. This whole situation is really like being in front of a mirror with a blank face, and you're trying your best to make the reflection in that mirror smile. Nothing you can do to that reflection is going to make it smile. Well, so then what's the solution? Well, when you look closely, you will notice his fear was what caused him to separate from his higher expression in the first place. His beliefs of his insecurity and unsafety is what caused him to separate from his higher expression. So the only way back is by embracing the fear. That's like a bridge. The only way back is feeling that fear. That's his only way back to his higher expression. It is through the contrast. Only when he feels that fear, well, which is a bias, mostly, or even a perceived fear. It may not even be real. Only when he feels that fear, that very thing that separated him from his higher expression will drop. He will find his way back home. He will realize how fulfilled he felt every time he painted. And that realization alone will start driving action towards claiming it. Also, by now the fear is gone. So all that anxiety and panic around not working in a law firm or no longer having a job will no longer bother him. It will lose its charge. You see, this is an example of how repression leads to an inverted life. Instead of thriving as an artist, expressing himself fully, he becomes trapped in a reality that contradicts his true nature. The very thing he repressed, his artistic spirit, shows up then as dissatisfaction in the life that he built by avoiding it. So until he feels his fear fully and then begins to live his truth, perhaps through maybe painting again or even as a hobby to start with, which sort of now becomes easy since the fear is gone. Until he does that, he will continue to feel a disconnection between who he is and the life he is living. Let's look at another example. Let's say a young girl who is naturally sensitive and deeply in tune with her emotions. Perhaps her own emotions and also the emotions of others. So she feels, intense. She feels things very intensely, expresses her needs very openly. She's free. However, growing up in an environment where emotions are dismissed or seen as a sign of weakness, she quickly learns that being too emotional leads to rejection or even ridicule. She learns being emotional is probably abnormal or that something is wrong with her. To then cope, she suppresses her emotional depth and she adapts by becoming a people pleaser. She prioritizes others, their needs over her own, avoids conflict, seeks approval by being agreeable, everything. On the surface, she might appear kind and helpful and easygoing, but inside, she feels disconnected from herself. She struggles to set boundaries and often feels drained, anxious, or resentful without knowing why. Her inverted life has now manifested as a version of herself that exists for others rather than herself. So instead of embracing that emotional intelligence as strength, she's repressed it. And she's done that by becoming someone who constantly gives up but rarely receives. See, the very emotions she suppressed, her own authentic feelings, they then start surfacing in hidden ways like burnout, passive aggressiveness, or just sudden emotional outbursts. You see, in this example as well, she's trapped in an inverted version of what her true self feels like, which is, of course, sensitive and connected to everything around her. And even though those old memories are calling her, her fear of her own emotions and her sensitivity keeps her in a gridlock. You see, once again, nothing she can do to her inverted reality, nothing she can fix in her inverted reality, no amount of dealing, no amount of people pleasing in this inverted reality is going to bring her that fulfillment she seeks. Why, you ask again? Because the fulfillment she seeks is already who she is. The memory that is calling her is already who she is. What she needs to do to feel fulfilled, that is, be comfortable with her sensitivity and connection with everyone, is already a gift she possesses as part of her higher self. This is a quality of her true self. This is her higher expression. She doesn't need to find it or create it or make anything happen in her inverted reality to feel that fulfillment. In fact, nothing she will do can get her there. And that is why we, time and time again, hear stories about people chasing after things, objects, desires, goals, and only to figure out that it was without its end. They continue to feel empty and that void of unfulfillment. So once again, like the reflection in the mirror, this situation is like sitting in a dark room, waiting for the outside world to turn on the light. No matter how long you wait, the only way to bring light into this room is to turn it on from within the room. So once again, what is the solution? Well, when you look closely, you will notice her fear was what caused her to separate from her higher expression. Her beliefs of her insecurity and unsafety of emotions is what caused her to separate from a higher expression in the first place. So then what's the way back? The only way back is by embracing that fear, feeling that fear. Her only way back to a higher expression is through the contrast. Only when she feels that fear, which may be relevant when she was a child, maybe it was a real danger, a real threat, but it may no longer be necessary to carry that fear. Only when she feels that fear, that very thing that separated her from a higher expression, she will find her way back home. She will realize how fulfilled she felt every time she embraced her sensitivity, every time she embraced her connection with everyone and everything around. When she felt a part of her environment, she realizes she no longer needs to choose. And now instead, she can include everyone. And that realization alone will drive action towards claiming it. Also, now that the fear is gone, all that anxiety and panic around people pleasing, again, will drop away. You see, her inverted life, once again, manifests as a version of herself that exists for others rather than herself. Instead of embracing her emotional intelligence as strength, she represses it. True healing then for her begins when she stops viewing her sensitivity as a flaw. Instead, she starts embracing it as a gift. As she learns to set boundaries and expresses a true emotion without fear, she then starts shifting from living for others to living in alignment with herself. In other words, everything you desire is waiting for you on the other side of your repressed emotions. Want to be rich to feel worthy? Feel all the limiting beliefs around unworthiness in you, and the worthiness will just unfold. Because it's a quality of your higher self. Want to be chosen, loved, or attract a partner of your dreams? Feel that abandonment, rejection in you, and you will effortlessly choose yourself. You will effortlessly love yourself, and therefore become magnetic to perhaps attracting the right person in your life. Again, this will just unfold because this is already a part of your higher self. Want to be confident and respected? Feel all the insecurities and self-doubt within you. And that self-assurance that you're looking for will naturally emerge. Because confidence isn't something you gain. It's something you uncover by releasing what's blocking it. And since it's already a characteristic of your higher self, you don't need to add confidence to yourself. You don't need to learn confidence. You just simply have to remove what is blocking it. One success, recognition. Again, feel the fear of failure and that belief that you're not enough. When you process those emotions, not only will your desire for it drop, but you will also realize that success is simply a byproduct of fully expressing your true self without any resistance. Want inner peace? Same thing. Feel the chaos. Feel that restlessness and that resistance within you. Feel it fully. As you allow yourself to sit with it, over time, peace will naturally arise. Because peace isn't something you find. It is what remains within when inner conflicts dissolves. It is the quality of your higher self. Want deep, authentic connections? Same thing. Feel the loneliness, the fear of being seen, and the wounds that keep you guarded. When you embrace those emotions, you will naturally become open, allowing genuine connections to flow into your life. Want abundance in life? You know the drill. Feel the scarcity, the fear of lack, and the conditioning that tells you there isn't enough. As you let go of those limitations, abundance will reveal itself. Not necessarily as something external, but as a reflection of your inner state, because abundance is already who you are. This is what all these spiritual teachers are trying to say, that you are not broken. You are already complete. You are already perfect. There is nothing about you that needs to be healed. The problem is that you, which is complete, abundant, worthy, untainted, etc., that you is waiting for you beyond your repressed emotions. And unfortunately, even though this is true, that the real you doesn't need to be healed, that is not what our living embodied experience is most of the time. Because most of the time we are all sitting in our pain bodies, and that pain body blocks the higher self. So folks, I hope this makes sense. When I say to go after what your heart desires, you need to process and release the contrast. I really hope I've done justice to this topic, because desires are mostly the rejected parts trying to get your attention. You know, when you desire something, you believe that you're going to achieve that desire through something external, but really that desire is mostly a rejected part trying to get your attention. And to meet these rejected parts, you simply remove what's in the way, which is, you guessed, your repressed emotions. So as we wrap up today's episode, I hope this perspective lands with you. You know, the things we chase, whether it's success, love, confidence, or inner peace, they aren't outside of us, but rather aspects of ourselves that we've lost touch with. When we repress parts of who we are, we don't eliminate them. We simply live in their absence. And then we live a trapped life in an inverted reality that not only feels incomplete, unfulfilled, but also disconnected. The key is not to fix the outside world, but to turn inwards and embrace the emotions we've been avoiding. Because everything you seek is already a part of you. Everything you seek is because there's already a memory of that in you. You may not have a conscious awareness of what that looks like, or you may not be able to cognitively process the structure of it, but it is whispering from behind your repressed emotions. It is just waiting for you to clear the path back home. So if you find yourself longing for something, ask yourself what fears, what beliefs, what old wounds are standing in the way. And instead of running from it, can you sit with it, feel it, process it, release it, and integrate it? Thank you for tuning in to the Metro Munk Podcast. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share it, leave me a review, or send me a message. Until next time, stay present, stay open, and keep coming back to yourself. Thank you, much love, and take care.